Hello everybody. Today we're going to clean up and fix a leaking lawnmower. As you can probably see right now that it is leaking a lot of gas out the bulb. Something in the carburetor is not closing correctly, so we're just going to take it off and try to clean it as best we can. I do have some replacement parts in order to fix this. So let's start here. What we're going to do is try to remove we're going to remove the filter, we're going to remove the top, and then try to cut off the gas supply. And all I have to do is just remove this line under here. So I'm going to tilt this on its side so I'm not leaking out any more gas, but once I do that, we will continue. Now first, before doing any repairs, what I would look for is the number on the motor itself. Now, this is a Craftsman 4.75 horsepower motor, but it is made by Briggs Stratton, or at least the motor is. So on most Briggs Strattons, they'll have a metal sleeve somewhere or some sort of metal plaque that has the long model number for it. So you need that, and then go to their website for any parts you need. So look at that, get your parts, and let's move on to actually doing the work. Alright, so the shroud is off, the filter's off. To get to the carburetor itself, looks like there's 3 screws. There's one here, or 3 bolts, I'm sorry. One here, and one here. And what we're going to do is just pull that off and access the carburetor. Those bolts are 5/16. Hose back there, probably like a return hose. And actually, I think I may have found my issue. The main issue right here is because it was leaking out of the bulb here. There is this gasket, and probably what's happened is just this gasket has gone bad. As you can see, it's already coming off. Well, it came off in one piece, but backstory on this. This is lawnmower has actually been sitting for about 4 years, I think, never been used on a front porch, and I am not surprised at all that some of these gaskets are dried out and bad. So we'll just go ahead and replace it. I'm gonna go ahead and still pull off the carburetor just to check it, make sure everything is still good. Okay, so here's the gas line, which is right here. So we're gonna remove that. I'll just get a pair of pliers to remove this hose. Try to pull it a little bit further back. There we go. And remove said hose. Now you will also find sometimes that these things are stuck, and that does happen from time to time. There we go. I did a lot of pulling on it, so we just want to make sure we didn't rip it. And it seems to be all right. It looks good. So I'm actually going to put it back here so it's covering that hole. I'm just going to stick something in the bottom of it for now, just to plug it. Alright, so now we're going to remove the carburetor. Carburetor is held in by 2 3/8" bolts. There's one here on this side, one here on this side. It is also held in by a couple linkages, as you can see up here on the top. So we'll leave those installed for now and just at least get the bolts out of the place. So let's do that now. Simply just be able to flip it off, like so. And there you have it, there's your carburetor. This is what we're going to be working on. Alright, so what we're going to do now is clean this up as best as we can. I'm going to do the outer first before I completely take it apart. Just take a brush, get all the hard, big stuff off, so we're not having to get too much stuff. Okay, so the big stuff's off. So once you've got this clean, we're going to go ahead and remove the bowl off the bottom here. Now there will be gasoline in this bowl, so be very careful. Put it on a place where you know you can put gas and let it evaporate, or just try to collect as much as you can. So on the bottom of it there is a 1/2 inch bolt on it, and that's what we're going to need to remove. So let me get my 3/8 wrench. Hopefully I can do this by holding it. There we go. That wasn't too bad. And then go ahead and unscrew it. Yeah, as you can see, it's already starting to leak away. Do it by hand. Oh, that's pretty. Look at all that rust. Like I said, it has been sitting for about 4 years, so I'm going to try to clean this up as best I can. Yeah, there's a little bit of dirt and mildew and whatever junk is in there. So let's get this cleaned. Alright, so I'm satisfied with that. Let's move on to the float. Okay, next thing we're going to do is remove this float. As you can see, there is a nut or a little pin here. We're just going to grab it. It should just pull right out. Yep, that's exactly what it did. So I'm going to set it off to the side for a second. Don't lose that. And then we're going to simply just lift this off, taking that needle with it. We'll want to clean that up. Just throw it in here for a second. Okay, and now that you've got it to this point, you can also go ahead and remove this O-ring here, because in most of these kits, it's you've got a new one. So we'll go ahead and just remove it and replace it. Throw it to the side. And now the float is clean for the most part. Let that dry. Actually, the needle fell out, but in the spare parts and the repair parts there's a new one, so we're going to go ahead and just replace it. I don't need to clean this off. So I'm going to also do a little minor brushing on the internals of the carburetor itself. Actually, I should be using a thicker bristle. Here we go. Let's use this. Get some of that solid stuff off. Corrosion that's built up over time from just sitting. Yeah, that's much better now. There it is. Alright. There's that O-ring. Looks like some junk got in there, so I may just need to push it out with a little bit of air. So we'll hold off on putting that new one in. Now it does also have what they refer to, where is it, as a Welch plug. That would be your Welch plug. From what I'm seeing, I don't really think I need to replace that, so I'm not going to. But what it's saying to do is actually take something sharp and stab it and then rip it out, and then all you have to do is reseat it with a hammer and something that's about that size to get it back into its place. So let me finish cleaning this thing up and we'll start putting some of the parts back in. I've been looking over this and looking at the parts, which I should also show that to you, what this thing offers. Let me pull this out of the way. Now this is the rebuild kit for my particular carburetor. Now it looks like it comes with multiple different other parts that I may not be using. So like for example, I think there's only one of these two big ones. I'm not going to be using that screw. There's also these foam pieces which actually go right here. It goes right up here between this arm and the throttle body. You can actually remove that throttle body that's in here. If I can get you in, there we go. That's in here. If you notice on some of these throttle bodies there are three little looks like push outs on the brass piece itself. All you have to do is flatten those out and then pull it straight out between it, and then I think this whole piece will come off. Swap that out, throw it back in, and you should be ready to go for that one. So I'm not going to do that today. I may do it later, but at this point I just need to get this up and running so I can mow my lawn because it's horrible. But so what we're going to do, let's put the main one on, which, let's see, should be this one, but what we can also do is match it to the old one, which is this one right here. So see, that one matches and it goes right here. Stick her on. Now off of this smaller kit, there's this small orange one here, and you can barely probably see it. Now it does have a groove on one side. That groove needs to be facing down, and it goes right into here. So let's see if I can get that in there without it flipping. It doesn't help that I'm wearing gloves. I mean, yes it does, but gloves are not going to, there we go. Gloves are not going to help you much. Did it flip? Nope, it didn't. So we're going to, oh yeah, it did. Let's see if I can get you in. Okay. So it is flipped. I'm just trying to turn it back around so I can seat it correctly. Here she goes. All right. I don't know if you can see that. If I can get you at right angle. Let's see. There we go. Don't know if you can see that, but it should be in there now. Next piece we put on. Actually, we're going to put the float back on. So, make sure there's nothing missing. Yep, alright, we're going to put the float back on. So on the new kit it also comes with a new needle. I'm going to take that, and here's the float. And all that happens is, whoops, as I drop it, slides right onto this piece and it sits like that. So I'm trying to get it, I'm working on an image upside down. So it actually goes in and sits just like that. So we don't want it to fall off. Take your carburetor, that needle will thread right into this hole here. And then it also comes with a new pin to hold it in place. And we're simply just going to thread that pin through. Make sure everything lines up correctly. Oops. There we go. Okay. Now she's back on. Take your bowl, flip her over back on here. I'll put that down for a second. Now the plug that came off the bottom has an O-ring. So we're going to match it with the new O-ring that it came with, which I believe is this one. It came in its own bag. So we're just going to simply take that, stick it back on, then screw this guy down. Just make sure the threads start. There we go. Tight. So once we're done, this is the gasket that we're going to be putting back into place on the front, which is this piece right here, and it sits like so. So let's get that done. Okay, now so before you put this back on, there's also an O-ring that goes right here, so we're going to remove that as well. So here's the new one. It sits right back on. You set it down, get it nice and firmed up on the edge. Take our carburetor, make sure you thread the throttle plate back onto the linkages, and then set this guy down back on to the plate. Take your bolts and put them back in. Okay. Once you got your carburetor put back on, put your realign your hose, your gas hose. Get mine to, there we go. Attach it to the side. And bring the clip back up and latch it into place. I might be replacing those clips because they don't feel like they're sealing very well. And before we install this back on, I'm actually going to go ahead and replace the bulb as well. It was leaking from that. I don't know if that was also an issue, but here's a new bulb for this particular one. There's your number, 694395. Let's get it out of the bag. Alright, so the bulb is held in by two clips on either side. Should just be able to push them in and pop it out. Okay, there's one. And get the other side. Oops. There's two. Should simply just lift out of there. Okay, here's the old bulb. We're going to put the bulb in first so it sits all the way down at the base, so now you can see it at the side. We're going to take it like this and place it down and then line up those notches. It should just pop and lock into place and hold it down. Let's see if I can get it to go all the way down. There's one. That's not going anywhere. Like I said, let's do the second one. I'm gonna have to push it down. There it is. There's the second one. Yeah, that guy's not going anywhere. Now let's install her back onto the motor. So take your gasket. It will sit like this. There should be 3 pins on the inside that will hold it in place, but make sure you just push it down all the way. Alright, so now once you've got your gasket installed, there will be 3 little pin marks. Try to line everything up correctly. Take this hole and make sure it lines up with that other tube. And line everything up and bolt everything back together. Now that's attached. So take your filter. I'm going to replace this because it's probably covered in gas. Make sure you line up those notches in the bottom. Driver back up. I'm hoping this is the same size. Yes, it is. Lock her back together. And you have now successfully rebuilt your carburetor. Well, hopefully this tutorial was helpful for you, putting a carburetor back together so it will run properly and not leak gas all over the place.